substance since you went to college. I think it's too late to acknowledge our problems. Heard that you're great, I just wanted to say it ain't change. I still love you, tomorrow's not promised. Oh, by the way, fucking hate all the fame. Got you counting the days when your illness is chronic. Death really changes the way you behave. I'll remember your face when it smiles upon us. Rapper bass, psych major, 666, so we like danger. Tough luck, life waster. If I get to know her, then I might save her. Stars in your eyes, let the moon talk. I can stay a while before I move on. Hoodie sleeves up, let the mask off. Mixed our tears on the asphalt. Damage in my C6, but you get that. So I know you'll understand where my blade at. You afflicted, where the meds at. Damn girl, let's make big bets at. Fuck them all, they don't got nothing on us. Trying to kill us, baby, think we're fucking on it. Fuck your fucking sickness, lost you in the process. I'ma get it for us like I always promised. Pull me back in with your fucking lies. Kill me slowly, baby, you know I don't fucking mind. You said a million years, guess the stars align. You've been lying, baby, see it in your fucking eyes. All up in your feelings, all about my vocal cords. I just think it's funny, they're in shit you working towards. Rose up at the morgue, got my foot in the door. If you run up on the dead, get body by a corpse. Get fucked for your money, get robbed for your life. Had a plight from the jump, succumb to the night. Got meds in my blood, got death in my mind. Ain't got shit left, best step to me right. No face, no name like kidder. My bitch look just like me, sir. In my restless dreams I see you. Sent straight to the ether. Last thing you see is my creepers. I want blood, I don't get even. Corpse, bitch. I went to substance since you went to college. I think it's too late to acknowledge our problems. Heard that you're great, I just wanted to say it ain't change. I still love you, tomorrow's not promised. Oh, by the way, fucking hate all the fame. Got you counting the days when your illness is chronic. Death really changes the way you behave. I'll remember your face when it smiles upon us. Rapper bass, psych major, 666, so we like danger. Tough luck, life waster. If I get to know her, then I might save her. Stars in your eyes, let the moon talk. I can stay a while before I move on. Hoodie sleeves up, let the mask off. Mixed our tears on the asphalt. Damage in my C6, but you get that. So I know you'll understand where my blade at. You afflicted, where the meds at. Damn girl, let's make big bets at. Fuck them all, they don't got nothing on us. Trying to kill us, baby, think we're fucking on it. Fuck your fucking sickness, lost you in the process. I'ma get it for us like I always promised. Pull me back in with your fucking lies. Kill me slowly, baby, you know I don't fucking mind. You said a million years, guess the stars align. You've been lying, baby, see it in your fucking eyes. All up in your feelings, all about my vocal cords. I just think it's funny, they're in shit you working towards. Rose up at the morgue, got my foot in the door. If you run up on the dead, get body by a corpse. Get fucked for your money, get robbed for your life. Had a plight from the jump, succumb to the night. Got meds in my blood, got death in my mind. Ain't got shit left, best step to me right. No face, no name like kidder. My bitch look just like me, sir. In my restless dreams I see you. Sent straight to the ether. Last thing you see is my creepers. I want blood, I don't get even. Corpse, bitch. I went to substance since you went to college. I think it's too late to acknowledge our problems. Heard that you're great, I just wanted to say it ain't change. I still love you, tomorrow's not promised. Oh, by the way, fucking hate all the fame. Got you counting the days when your illness is chronic. Death really changes the way you behave. I'll remember your face when it smiles upon us. Reprobate, psych major, 666, so we like danger. Tough luck, life waster. If I get to know her, then I might save her. Stars in your eyes, let the moon talk. I can stay a while before I move on. Hoodie sleeves up, let the mask off. Mixed our tears on the asphalt. Damage in my C6, but you get that. So I know you'll understand where my blade at. You're afflicted, where the meds at. Damn girl, let's make big bets at. Fuck them all, they don't got nothing on us. Trying to kill us, baby, think we're fucking on it. Fuck your fucking sickness, lost you in the process. I'ma get it for us like I always promised. Pull me back in with your fucking lies. Kill me slowly, baby, you know I don't fucking mind. You said a million years, guess the stars align. You've been lying, baby, see it in your fucking eyes. All up in your feelings, all about my vocal cords. I just think it's funny, there ain't shit you working towards. Rose up at the morgue, got my foot in the door. If you run up on the dead, get bodied by a corpse. Keep locked for your money, get robbed for your life. At a plate when the jump succumb to the night. Got meds in my blood, got death in my mind. Ain't got shit left, best step to me right. No face, no name like killer. My bitch look just like me, sir. In my restless dreams, I see you. Sent straight to the ether. Last thing you see is my creepers. I want blood, I don't get even. Corpse, bitch.
Reggie.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Geeks and Noobs podcast. I am your host, Super Revered Vince Hoover. It joined, as always, by Kel McCosplay. Welcome back to the show. Us down in Florida, we survived the hurricane, so we are back. Luckily, no, it wasn't even really an issue for me, even though I was right in the path of it, supposedly. Like, we got rain for, like, we got maybe an inch of rain total the whole 3 days. It was mostly
Well, that's
wind.
good, at least.
Yeah, it was mostly wind, but even then, we didn't get it that bad. We didn't have any. There was no damage in my neighborhood or anything like that. Thankfully, you know, the power outages we had were all precautionary ones done by the power company. They weren't like things that actually went out, so it wasn't bad at all. Welcome to the podcast, everyone. Of course, if you're following us on any of these, you got to do the social stuff. Social media is king nowadays. So if you're on Twitch, please follow. If you're feeling generous, please subscribe. It's just $5 a month. Or you can use your Amazon Prime subscription, make Jeffrey Bezos pay for it and stick it to the millionaires. If you're on YouTube, please hit that like button and the subscribe button. It's free there. Also hit that notification bell so you know every time we go live. We now got Kick working again, so if you could follow us over there as well, that'd be great. And of course on Facebook, please share, follow, all that jazz. Now, something interesting has kind of popped up. And when I say interesting, I mean batshit crazy and stupid. But if you guys,
the hell you say?
Yeah, if you guys saw the title of the stream or the thumbnail or anything, James Gunn is being canceled yet again. But this time it's even more ridiculous than before. So before we dive into what is currently going on, let's kind of revisit what happened before, which actually caused James Gunn to get fired by Disney. And it led to him going to DC and Warner Brothers, which ended up being a blessing in disguise for a lot of people. He did come back to Disney when Disney realized that they were stupid for so hastily jumping the gun. No pun intended, but it works. But jump
at the gun. I just got it.
Yeah. Some alt-right asshole decided to dig through some decades-old tweets by James Gunn where he had made jokes about pedophilia and stuff, which, let's be true, I mean, it's not something to joke about. But
no,
they were jokes. It
all.
wasn't like he was saying that, you know, I love pedophilia or anything like that. He was literally just like, he was making jokes over a bad topic. Disney very hastily just fired him immediately, even though before even being hired by Disney, he had already apologized for said tweets and took accountability for said tweets. But Disney, in a panic, basically canceled him by firing him, and that put Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 on indefinite hold. He went to Warner Brothers. He made The Suicide Squad, which to me is one of the best DC films we've ever gotten. We got Peacemaker out of it, and it led to him eventually becoming head of DC Studios after Disney brought him back, and he finished his trilogy and gave us the greatest trilogy in the MCU, the Guardians of the Galaxy. And Volume 3 is a masterpiece of a film. So he went out on a very high note.
Best trilogy in Marvel. I would say best trilogy in cinema. Because name any other trilogy where all 3 movies are just as good as the predecessor.
John Wick.
Wow. Okay. 1. Okay. So you got 1 and 2.
John Wick.
So, well, I don't. Can you count it because it has 4 movies now?
Well, even when it was a trilogy, I could count it, and even now it has 4 films. Which honestly, though, honestly, having 4 films is even harder.
That's true.
And the fact that they've gotten progressively better. But John Wick is not what we're here to talk about. But I mean, like, yeah, it's hard to get a trilogy to work because if you look at Back to the Future, although I love all 3 films, a lot of people hate the third one. Ghostbusters doesn't really have. It's not really a trilogy, but
yeah,
kind of. And a lot of people for some reason don't like Ghostbusters 2, and I don't get that because I love Ghostbusters 2. But to each their own. Even The Godfather.
As memorable as the first movie? Well, the third film of The Godfather was horrible.
Yeah,
and that's
Godfather 3. Godfather 3 is awful.
Saying it nicely.
Yeah, Godfather 3 is awful. Yes, Disney is reactionary to a fault. How good is the show Orville? I love Orville. And
Orville's great.
I believe that Orville is a this is so off topic, but oh well. Orville to me is a spiritual sibling to Star Wars or Star Trek.
Mm-hmm.
I believe it to be kind of in that universe. Like, it obviously doesn't connect directly, but I think it's a spiritual sibling for sure. And it's all because of Seth MacFarlane's love of Star Trek. So I love Orville. It's a great, great show.
And you also got to look at all those other television series that came out like in the 90s, back when Next Gen was at its peak. I mean, you had Andromeda, Farscape.
Battlestar Galactica came back.
Well, that was like after. Well, I mean, there was probably a Star Trek show going on at the time when that came back. But yeah, I mean, Orville has to be like the most beloved and closest to Star Trek you can get without actually being Star Trek.
Yeah, for sure.
But it's a great show, and the humor is. I'm not going to say it's fantastic. It's really good, and the humor is really good because of Seth MacFarlane's background in comedy, and it actually tells a story with each episode.
Yeah, he could have very easily just made it Family Guy in space.
Yes,
but he doesn't. The humor is there to just alleviate some tension in an emotional story. Mm-hmm. It's properly inserted. It's not a comedy. Yeah. It is a comedic drama, and that's what I appreciate about it. Yes. It's done very well, and some of the story, and they touch on some very deep topics, just like Next Generation did, and Deep Space Nine did, and Star Trek. I mean, don't forget the original. In general, the original Star Trek series had the first ever interracial kiss.
Mm-hmm.
They talked about racism and other stuff, and bigotry and religion and the biases of that and all that stuff, all in the original series. And so, yeah. Fast X comes out on Peacock next Friday. I will watch that purely out of morbid curiosity. Yeah, because I've not watched a Fast movie since the third one. I watched Fast 9. First off, wasn't missing a thing. I have watched Hobbs and Shaw too, but
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I am too. But I watched Fast 9, and it was one of the most ridiculous movies I've ever seen. So out of morbid curiosity, I will watch Fast X sometime this weekend.
It's so funny because about around what Fast 5, 6, it the Fast series became a parody on itself about how
Yeah, I
much it
think
could
it was.
jump the
I,
fucking shark.
I think it was Fast Five.
Yeah,
I mean, you had The Rock punching torpedoes out of the water.
exactly. I mean,
What the actual fuck? Come on.
let's put this in perspective. There are comic book movies that don't even do that with their heroes.
Yeah, that are more
Okay?
real, that are more realistic than the Fast series. Yeah.
Exactly.
And then you hear
This
about
this is
all the contract stuff and the fact that in their contracts it has to be like if Vin Diesel gets punched 3 times, he has to punch the bad guy 4. And he
yeah.
can't be knocked, like all these different things. And there's actually a little, they literally have an equation, an algorithm to the fights. And it's John Wick, to bring that back up, is one of the best action film series of all time.
Yes.
And he gets his ass beat in those movies. And yet, not once do you ever think he is not the most badass man on the planet. Not once.
Absolutely not.
And like Vin Diesel is also Vin Diesel's only like 5'10, 5'9, 5'10. He's not tall at all. He's like he's like an inch or two taller than me. But it has to be shot in a way that he's the same height as The Rock, and The Rock's like what, 6'3, 6'4? Like
Something like that.
like it reminds me of like Tom Cruise doing the Jack Reacher films.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Like again, Mission Impossible, one of the greatest franchises of all time. It didn't work for Jack Reacher. The new Jack Reacher series, I believe it's on Amazon or Hulu.
Yes, that show
Amazon.
is fantastic.
Yeah, and I'm not a huge Alan Richardson fan. Like he's he's one of those like I'm gonna shove religion down your throat, just like Tom Cruise with the Scientology. He does it with Christianity.
Yeah,
and also he's kind of a dick, but he is Jack Reacher.
Yes,
and that show is tailor made for him. So I don't know, but back to the topic at hand. So we've got the history of James Gunn being canceled the first time out of the way. It would seem that the Snyder cult and the toxic fandom surrounding DC is trying to cancel him once again and actually get him fired as head of DC Studios because of, again, decades old tweets that have come out where he really he bashes Batman 89 and the Dark Knight trilogy and all that stuff. And so I'll read some of it right here. I got the article. I think Fandom Wire was the first to run with this, and Fandom Wire, I'm putting this out there for everybody who watches. Fandom Wire is the QAnon Newsmax of pop culture media. They have gone so far off the deep end, it's insane. So if it comes from Fandom Wire, don't believe it until you read the actual source and you find the truth behind it, because they will twist everything. But so one of the tweets was, the Tim Burton Batman is poorly written. The soundtrack is the worst work of everyone involved, and it's absolutely one of the most boring films ever. Before we go further, can we all agree that Prince had no business being involved in the film, right? And on top of all that, the Dark Creature Tonight can't even move his fucking neck. Give me a fucking break. It's ridiculous, awful film. Burton's Planet of the Apes is genius by comparison. Goddamn.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Huh.
Now, of course, Batman 89 is a beloved film with comic book movie fans. And for a lot of people, it got them into comic books.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Thus, Batman had to change into comics because of that film. He does go on to say that Batman Returns is a better film, which I think we all can agree on. I think it is a better film. I think it's the best of those films. But he then goes after Christopher Nolan's Batman Begins and The Dark Knight. I have problems with both of Nolan. Now, this tells you how old it is because it's before Dark Knight Rises even came out. So that tells you how old these tweets are. I have problem with both of Nolan's films. I don't think either one is classic, and I don't even think Batman Begins is good, despite being the first cinematic dark take on Batman. So what? Stallone's Judge Dredd was the first dark take on Judge Dredd. The movie was awful. Now, this also comes from a time period, and Sean Gunn, James Gunn's brother, has talked about this at length. There was a long time period where James Gunn was basically just a contrarian. He was that almost typical film bro, film degree student that if it was mainstream, it was awful. You know what I mean? And he was very contrarian to a fault, to the point where it ruined friendships and relationships, etc. He has moved and grown and matured since then. Again, these are from well over a decade ago. These are from a long time ago. He's not the same man he was. Even if he was, none of these are a fireable offense.
No, these are just literally his opinions. He was speaking out at the time.
Yeah.
I mean, you look back 20 years in your own history and you think about something you don't regret saying
Yeah.
that people could have found offensive or hurtful or whatever have you. We've all done it. So everybody needs to get off their damn high horse and stop pretending like they're sitting right next to Jesus.
Well, the irony of the whole situation, which there's a lot of irony in the situation, but the irony of the situation
Yeah.
is that, again, it's the Snyder cultists that are really backing this.
No, of course they are.
Zack Snyder shit all over most of DC.
Mhm.
He even thought that the Christopher Reeve Superman movies were shit.
Willow.
Which, granted, 3 and 4, not great.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
But one and the Donner cut of 2 are masterpieces. That's what got me into comics, was the first ever Superman film. And Christopher Reeves is obviously a beloved human being and representation of Superman.
Absolutely.
And like, so it again, the irony of it all is like, the Snyder fans are trying to get him fired and bring Zack Snyder back. Oh, Kel McBride has shared the stream.
What a nice fella.
But again, you have, like, just watch the watch along that he did where he talked about Batman killing and whatnot, and he goes off and moves away from everything that is Batman and tells people, oh, this is a grown-up Batman, blah, blah, blah. Like, Snyder shit on the comics as well as the previous films. Like, that's crazy to me. That you're gonna attack James Gunn for having an opinion decades ago, and he's not the same person he was, and yet you're bowing down and basically idealifying Zack Snyder, who had worse takes.
Yep.
So this is something that, we talked about it on Tuesday with the toxic fandom in wrestling, and like, and these are all minorities of fandoms. This is not the fandoms as a whole, but unfortunately they are a very vocal minority in a social media age where everybody's voice is heard. And it makes the rest of us look bad because people have to be, aggressive and contrarian and gatekeeping and bully people and all this stuff, when the reality is these fandoms and comic book movie fandom in particular, it's escapism.
Yeah.
It's meant to be something that we can, even if we don't agree on the quality of a film, it should be a place of open discussion and, just a place where people can feel comfortable. And nobody feels comfortable in fandoms anymore. Like, there was a period of time where we were all bullied for our fandoms.
Hmm.
Then it became accepted and even chic to be a geek. And now we've kind of gone all the way to the other side of that arc, where now the fandoms themselves are toxic and the bullying comes from inside the house. And we need to get back to center, where it's just
Yeah,
cool to be a
absolutely.
part of it. And, look, some people are going to have bad takes. People are going to have their opinions that they think are facts when they're not. But all of this is pretty much subjective. I love Batman 89, but I can also understand where he's coming from with some of what he said. Now, was he aggressive and contrarian with it? Absolutely. But
Mhm.
the writing isn't the best. And I agree, like the Prince soundtrack doesn't work. Now, Danny Elfman is great with the score,
Yes.
but I'm also like, I like Danny Elfman, but I also feel that Danny Elfman has a signature sound that is too prevalent in everything he does. Listen to the Men in Black's score. Like, if I put on the Men in Black score and the Batman score, you'd almost have a hard time telling them apart. That's how
Yeah.
close they are. And in almost everything Danny Elfman does, you can hear that Batman score in the background. John Williams has a signature sound, like you can hear something go, oh, that's John Williams. But none of them sound the same.
Yeah.
It's just the way he orchestrates his and writes his music. With Danny Elfman, you go, oh, that's, I can hear the Batman in the background.
Yeah,
Hans
and the
Zimmer's
theme
kind of
to
the same way.
Sleepy Hollow
Yeah.
and so many others that he's done with Tim Burton over the years.
Yeah,
Nightmare
you can
Before
just hear it.
Christmas. Yeah.
Well, even go back, like he did the Spider-Man. He
Yeah.
did the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, the first two. And apparently Sam Raimi and him didn't get along, and part of that was because Sam Raimi didn't want it to sound like Batman. But you can still hear it.
Yeah. Yeah,
You go
absolutely
back and
can.
listen to that score, you know it's a Danny Elfman score because you can hear the Batman in the background. Hans Zimmer is kind of the same way, although I think more recently the stuff he's done with Nolan has been a little bit more outside of what his normal sound is, which I appreciate. But
Yeah.
Batman 89 isn't perfect by any stretch. But I particularly like it. However, if you don't, you don't. And again,
And that's fine.
where James Gunn was coming from is valid. He was just overly aggressive to be contrarian over a decade ago with these tweets. And it's nothing worth canceling the man over. Like, the fact that you're trying to get this man fired is pure insanity. Pure insanity. And it's making mountains out of molehills. And a lot of these news sites are kind of in a panic over the fact that we are having these strikes right now and they can't really promote movies and stuff. And like, there's not a lot to talk about because there's nothing being filmed right now. So they're having all these so they are they're pulling at straws right now trying to find stories. So I think
Yeah.
that
I mean, we're
most
in the
of
same
this,
boat right now.
I mean, yeah, we're grasping at straws trying to find stuff to talk about too because we can't, I'm not going to be a scab and start talking about stuff. Now, if something doesn't come up, we are talking about next week talking about the I Am Groot season 2. But that's not us, promoting a struck company. That's just, we just want to talk about the series in and of itself. So again, we're not trying to be scabs either, and we know that the whole content creator thing was a big deal. If you were on TikTok, you saw all that shit. And what I find funny is that all these content creators are now like literally again grasping at straws, and you're starting to see the real side of them. And
Mhm.
I find that very funny. Because it's a side that most people aren't liking. Some people's egos have gotten like bigger somehow from it all. Don't get that. But
Me neither. I know.
but yeah, so like I don't get how anybody can sit there and go, yeah, let's fire James Gunn because he doesn't like the classic DC films. He's not making the classic DC films. He's not trying to fit into that universe. It'd be I could see a like, ooh, maybe he's not the right person for the job if they were continuing on the Batman 89 universe or even the Dark Knight universe. Like if those universes were, if that was what you were building your universe, your combined universe on, then I could see the argument that, hey, maybe James Gunn isn't the best person if he still feels this way about these films.
Yeah.
That's not what he's doing. He's building a whole new universe.
From scratch. All brand new stuff.
And yes, I know they're bringing Gal Gadot back for Wonder Woman 3.
Oh,
But
did they finally agree on that?
yeah, that is coming. But here's the
Okay.
thing. James Gunn has already talked about this being a multiverse. And I believe, honestly, that this Wonder Woman 3 movie is just to allow Gal Gadot to have her swan song, to have her send off as Wonder Woman. Because as of right now, this is the only thing she's going to be a part of is the Wonder Woman 3 film. And honestly, I say kudos to James Gunn because you certainly don't want Wonder Woman 84 being your legacy.
That's true.
That
Yeah.
movie is straight up garbage. Like to the point where I would not bring back Patty Jenkins. Like I would find somebody else to helm that third film and find a way to write off this that universe's version of Wonder Woman properly. DC has a lot going on. We've already got our new Superman cast. We've got Superman Legacy being the first live action film in this. We're going to get the Creature Commandos, which also, by the way, I think it's really cool. We're going to get that as an animated film, but the voice actors will play those characters in live action as well. Like they're going to cross over. Similar
That's
to how
really
we had,
interesting.
yeah, like we had Captain Carter from What If then appear in Multiverse of Madness in live action. Kind of that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So
Oh, wait,
that
I
I
didn't
think
say
is
that right. Yeah.
yeah. Which by the way, if you go
By
to
the
our
way.
merch store, there is a brand new shirt, the Kelly McCosplay shirt. Make sure you go check that out. ! merch if you're on Twitch. Everywhere else, it's in the our link trees and our socials. So hit all that. You have to spell merch correctly, Jason, to get it to work. Not Miarch. ! Miarch. There it is. But yeah, I don't understand the thought process behind trying to attack this man at all time. Yes, words are hard. I don't understand. Like we've seen go, and you can. This is across the board. This is across the board. Politics, society, environment, 100%. There is a regression going on. We are treading backwards in every aspect of life. And that includes in like I said, in fandoms, it's going full circle. We've gone from the being bullied, accepted, to being bullied again, but this time the bullying is from inside the house. And
yeah, the people in the glass houses are throwing rocks at the people outside now.
Yeah. Tribalism
So
is in this fandom. Yes, there's tribalism for sure.
Oh yeah.
And again, I don't understand it. Like why? I need somebody to give me a genuine reason as to why you have to like one and not the other. Like Marvel and DC. Or why you have to, well, I like the Snyder film, so I have to hate James Gunn. Why?
Why? I mean, give us a valid argument.
Which, to this day, nobody has been able to. And even if you prefer the Snyder films to whatever James Gunn brings out, it doesn't mean you can't like the James Gunn films as well. Because at the end of the day, you are not going to get your way. Snyder is done with DC. They are not going to bring him back. Look how long it took us just to get his cut of the Justice League film. 3 years. 3 years it took. And as long as Superman Legacy is at least partially successful, like it doesn't have to be a, make all the money in the world. As long as it makes money, like as long as it's in the red and not in the black. Or do I have that backwards? Whatever.
No,
as
yeah,
long as
in
it's
the
as long as it
in the
makes
black.
money. Yeah, as long as it's in the black and not in the red. I had that backwards.
Yeah.
Strike that, reverse it. As long as it's in the black, that's all Warner Brothers wants. And that's
Yeah.
all they need.
Because they really haven't, with Warner Brothers and DC Films, they have been in the red for a good long time.
Yeah, they haven't made money in quite some time. Like even Blue Beetle, which I unfortunately have not seen yet, but I've heard good things about. But still, it didn't make any money. And it sucks.
Yeah.
We got Aquaman 2 coming up, which I
long as
kind of
that's
have a
supposed to-
feeling. That's gonna suck.
Yeah.
Just because it's not gonna feel like it fits anywhere. I hope
Yeah,
that
you're
it can
gonna have
stand
this
on its
movie-
own, but
I don't know. I mean, look how when did it finish wrapping with production? Like 2 years ago,
I think so.
or maybe
But then I know
even
they went back for some big reshoots that were supposedly
Yeah.
including Ben Affleck. But after you got the ending you got for The Flash, which of course that movie tanked and that's done. George Clooney was back as Batman, and then there was rumors that George Clooney was brought in for some shoots on Aquaman. And they did make it clear that in the multiverse, no matter what, Jason Momoa is always Aquaman. That was something they had in
Yeah.
one of the post-credit scenes. But it feels like Aquaman 2 is just going to... And there's still the rumor out there that he's going to be moving on from Aquaman to becoming Lobo. I don't know how much truth is to that, but that rumor is still out there.
Yeah. I mean, I seriously think at this point, DC just needs to give Aquaman 2 the Batgirl treatment and just put it on the shelf. Just forget about it.
I don't think they will, only because of it is like a $200 million film.
I know, but
so they will most likely not.
At this point, who's excited for it?
No one.
Exactly.
No one.
So you're going to spend all that money to put it out to not make any money.
Yeah, and especially if the strikes are still going on, because it's supposed to come out in December.
Yeah.
And if they don't have any way to promote it, they're fucked. Jason says, okay, so the way I see it is that DC does the animated movies right, while Marvel does the live action right.
That's absolutely true.
Yeah, but I think that it's like, here's the thing. James Gunn was the as much as David Zizlig is a complete and utter fuckhead asshole, especially over these strikes right now, James Gunn was the absolute right person to bring in to run DC Studios. Because here's a man that not only was deep in the trenches with Kevin Feige on Marvel movies, he was supposed to be the head of their cosmic division. Like, he was supposed to be the Kevin Feige of their cosmic MCU before he got fired. So he is very well indoctrinated into how to make a proper film franchise, connected universe. Like, he's very well entwined in that and in how to do it right from the people who've done it the best. And say what you will about Phase 4, which again, I think this goes back to the whole, toxic fandom thing. I like
Mhm.
Phase 4. I've liked every bit of Phase 4. I think the weakest link in Phase 4 has been Secret Invasion, and mainly
Yeah.
because the promise it gave of being this like mature Winter Soldier-esque espionage series, and it didn't quite deliver. Again, if you watch it straight through, it's a better series. Watch it straight through, because you'll notice things that like they went too subtle on the subtle secret thing with things. So if you have a week between episodes, you miss these subtleties because it's too subtle. But if you watch it all
Yeah.
together, it's a better series. But like Marvel has done it right. James Gunn now has the opportunity to start fresh and build like he talked about, or like Marvel had done, where they started, and periodically built instead of DC trying to play catch up like they did. The Justice League should not have been your third fucking film.
Absolutely not. Batman v Superman should not have been your second film.
No. The Flashpoint Paradox should not have been your first Flash film. Like, there's so much like that they did wrong and misstepped. And like shoehorning in the death of Superman into Batman v Superman and all that stuff. It's crazy.
Yeah.
James Gunn now has the opportunity to start over, start fresh, build off Superman, which was the beginning of all superheroes, with a younger Superman. I love Henry Cavill Superman. Thought he was great. But the man's 46 years old. James Gunn has a minimum 10-year plan. And is, again, starting fresh. Henry Cavill at 56 cannot be playing a Superman who's only 5 years in to being a superhero. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which I'm sure, don't get me wrong, Henry Cavill at 56 will probably still look like a damn chiseled granite statue of a god. I'm sure of it.
I agree.
But
Because, God.
like, yes, Batman came out after Superman. But I believe it's always been that Batman has always been older than Superman in Earth years. And that he was around in the shadows before he was found out to the public, kind of thing. So the fact that they have talked about doing a slightly older casting, but not like Ben Affleck age, but somewhere in their late 30s to early 40s for the new Batman Brave and the Bold, because this Batman has a child. So this is a not a 20-year seasoned veteran like Ben Affleck's Batman was when he showed up in Justice League, but somebody's been around 5, 6, 7 years, maybe even 10 at being Batman. Publicly being Batman. So like he's rebuilding. He's got a younger Superman. He'll pick a slightly younger Batman, which I still think Jensen Ackles is the top choice as far as I'm concerned.
I will absolutely fucking agree with that.
All these other things he's working on, the Authority, Creature Commandos, etc. James Gunn has proven that he can build a successful franchise around obscure characters. He's done it twice. One, Guardians of the Galaxy, as we said, one of the greatest trilogies of all time. And then two, The Suicide Squad and Peacemaker. The Peacemaker series is peak television. What he was able to do with that is insane. And here's a character that is so obscure. He also cast right.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. As much as I'm not a fan of the show, I mean, John Cena was the way to go for Peacemaker.
And to, I mean, you look at the Guardians, like everybody he cast in the Guardians was fantastic. his interpretations of the characters, while pay a proper homage to the comic books, he also understands the interpretation of it. Rocky, no worries. I can explain to you again. So, uh, there are a subsect of fans, the Snyder cultists and the toxic fandom, that are trying to cancel James Gunn because he had some harsh words for Batman 89 and the Dark Knight trilogy. He said they were awful films. Decades ago, he tweeted out that these were bad films. And now people are trying to get him fired because he doesn't like the classics. Here's the thing about the Dark Knight trilogy. I just watched Batman Begins again like 2 nights ago. It's not great. It's not as good as I remembered it being. Then I watched Dark Knight. Dark Knight still holds up. But what holds it up is Heath Ledger, who, again, I feel is still not the greatest Joker. Like, I have my issues with his Joker as well, but I still think his acting holds that entire film up. And then I watched Dark Knight Rises. Dark Knight Rises is fucking awful, but
yeah, Tom Hardy was a terrible Bane.
And should have been a great Bane.
Should have, but
he was my first choice. And when I heard he was cast as Bane, I was so excited, and they ruined it. It was terrible, terrible writing. Yes, but people are getting butthurt because he has his own opinion. Exactly, Rocky. And it's also well documented that during that time, it was like 10 to 15 years ago, he was a known contrarian. He would just say things to be contrarian to the popular opinion. He has matured as a person and moved beyond that. He was just saying that to get a rise out of people. But go back and watch The Dark Knight. The film holds up because, again, Heath Ledger's acting is insane. He does such a good job. Christian Bale takes a step backwards as Batman in this film. The bat voice and everything. Like, it's just... And, like, he, like... The whole moral conundrum where he has, like, the cell phones to the point where that's going to make Lucius Fox quit because it's unethical. Yeah, Batman, like, pushes that ethical line in the comics quite often.
Oh, yeah.
But he doesn't cross it. He bends it, for sure, but he doesn't cross it. So, yeah, and in Rises was crap. Like, I watched all 3 of them back. I just watched them back to back. Batman Begins was not as good. Although Liam Neeson as Ra's al Ghul would have been my choice as well, but I don't think they gave him enough to do. I do think that Cillian Murphy as the Scarecrow is brilliant. I wish he'd have gotten more.
I absolutely agree with that. He should have got way more screen time than what he did. And then the fact you had him in all 3 films and you literally did nothing with the guy.
Yeah, exactly. He became the Bruce Campbell of the films.
Yeah, he really did.
He was like Bruce Campbell in the Spider-Man series. But
where Bruce Campbell's cameos were, oh, it's Bruce Campbell! Yay! It was, oh, it's the Scarecrow. Is he gonna do? Okay, his thing's over. Okay.
Yeah. And then he was just a judge in Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah.
Didn't even have the mask, no fear toxin, nothing. He was just there. Like, what the actual fuck? Yeah, Dark Knight Rises was awful. I think Christopher Nolan's worst film.
Mm-hmm.
With Tenet being a close second. Tenet is dog shit. When your protagonist's name is Protagonist, like, that's his name. Protagonist.
Yeah. So, Chris, how much more can you dumb this down for the audience?
Yeah. So, like, there is some truth to the critiques that James Gunn had. He just did it in a very angry and contrarian way. But that's absolutely no reason to cancel the man or try to get him fired from DC Studios. How about we see what he can do first?
Yeah, because technically we haven't even begun his reign.
No,
Yeah, Blue Beetle was come out while he's head of DC, but
that was
that
done
was
before
planned
he got hired.
before.
Yeah, that was done before he was
Exactly.
hired. Also, like we only got a taste of it with the Suicide Squad, and that was still under the original WB reign. So
Mhm.
even though they gave him creative control, he still had to work within some of the confines of that universe. I think he absolutely salvaged both Harley Quinn and Rick Flag in that. If you watch Suicide Squad and then the Suicide Squad, and you look at um oh, what's his name? The guy who plays Rick Flag. You look at him,
Ouch. Yeah,
Joel Kinnaman. Joel Kinnaman, right?
I
I think it's
I
Joel
think,
Kinnaman.
yeah.
He was also RoboCop in the remake, which is not as bad as people think it is, but it's also not good. It's
Yeah.
okay. It's just not. It wasn't worthy of a RoboCop reboot, but it was all right. But Joel Kinnaman, if you look at him as Rick Flag in the first Suicide Squad film, he looks like a man defeated the whole time.
Yeah.
Just beat down, baggy eyed. Like he looks defeated from scene one to end of film. Then you see him in the Suicide Squad, and he has life
Yeah.
up
I mean,
until Peacemaker
I
stabs him in the heart. But
yeah, we have discussed our different opinions about the Suicide Squad films, but I do have to agree with you. Rick Flag was a character that I actually did enjoy in the Suicide Squad compared to Suicide Squad,
yeah,
and he was a much more likable character. He actually had personality. He actually cared
yes, he
in this.
cared. That's the biggest thing. He cared.
Exactly.
Nailed it.
Where the first film, you know, all he cared about was getting the doctor back that the Enchantress possessed.
Mhm.
But even then, he was like, "Gotta go save her."
Yeah, it was just
And then in the Suicide Squad, when Harley gets kidnapped, he's like, "I gotta go rescue my friend."
yeah,
It was not, he was not a teammate, and plus, they're a Suicide Squad. They're supposed to be killed off,
yeah,
but he's like, "No, screw that. We're gonna go save her."
yeah. I thought it was great, and
It's absolutely.
I think just like now, obviously, a lot of the problems with the original Suicide Squad 2 is the fact that the studio interfered so much with the editing and everything, and
Mhm.
rewrites and reshoots and stuff like that. I still don't think the David Ayers cut would be any good because even he admits he had the wrong person as the villain.
Yeah.
Um, but that was just a taste of what James Gunn can do in DC, and that was with his hand with one hand tied behind his back because he still had certain restraints he had to follow.
And let's talk about that for a second. Everybody loves the Suicide Squad. Everybody can't wait to see more of what's going on. Why are why do these people want to cancel it now? I mean, even the Snyderverse fans. Why? Because even some of y'all like the Suicide Squad,
Yeah,
but now these tweets have resurfaced, and you want to get them fired. It just doesn't make sense. I mean, you've seen
over
what
and
good he can do.
yeah,
Give the guy a damn chance. Because, like you said earlier, Vince, Snyder's not coming back.
no,
He's not. Get it out of
he
your heads. Go watch it. Enjoy it. Leave the rest of us alone and shut the hell up.
if you don't like it, you don't have to watch. It's that simple.
Yeah.
It really is. Oh well, I want to see my favorite heroes on the big screen. Okay, then watch it and give it a chance.
Yeah.
Stop going into it with so much hate in your heart and see what can be done.
It's like, I am not a fan of Batman v Superman at all. But I will go watch another Batman movie that comes out because I enjoy the character.
Exactly.
I just didn't enjoy Snyder's uh,
I
direction. I also didn't enjoy Nolan's direction with Batman. But I
yeah,
watch the films and I'll rewatch them
yeah.
because
I think Nolan did so much
I'm
better with the
not
side
going.
characters.
It just doesn't make sense to me. I can't fathom you want to cancel this person just because Because that's it. That's the only reason.
Yeah.
Just because.
Yeah, it's Karen mentality for sure.
Absolutely.
And the fact of the matter is, it's like you're judging somebody before you see what they can really do. And the thing
Hmm.
is, it isn't like James Gunn is a brand new filmmaker that we've never heard of, or every film he's done has been trash, or
Yeah.
every time he gets a hold of an iconic character, he destroys it. Because that's actually proven to be the exact opposite. Guardians of the Galaxy,
Right.
he fucking nails.
Exactly. I had never even heard of Guardians of the Galaxy until James Gunn's movie came out. And now they're some of my favorite heroes in Marvel.
Well, I actually, in the 90s, used to collect Guardians of the Galaxy comics. They had a solo run in the 90s. Not well, I mean it's a
Hmm.
team run, but they had their own book in the 90s. It wasn't this team. It was some of this team, but it wasn't this team. It was,
Yeah.
Guardian and Yondu and the team like Sylvester Stallone's character and all that stuff. It was a different team, but still they were obscure and it didn't run long because they couldn't make it work in the comics, but I liked them.
Yeah.
But like he took obscure characters and made them household names.
Yeah. Absolutely.
He has worked with household names in the Suicide Squad, like Harley Quinn. The best arc Harley Quinn in live action has ever had is right there in the Suicide Squad. Birds of Prey, complete and utter garbage. Her run in the first Suicide Squad movie, not good. Her run in the Suicide Squad, which again, he was slightly handcuffed because he had to build off what she had done in Birds of Prey and in the first Suicide Squad film. But he was able to take that and turn it into real growth, which is why she killed that president instead of marrying him, because she saw the Joker in him.
Yeah.
And she saw the toxic relationship she was about to fall back into. Like I never felt more like I was like, she just killed that man, and yet I'm applauding her for it.
Hmm.
Like her scene in prison where they're torturing her, trying to get information out of her, was great. Like
Yeah.
again, the best live action interpretation we've gotten for Harley Quinn was in that film. And he was having to build off other people's crap. Same with Rick Flag. He had to build off the crap that was the first one that Rick Flag had, and you made him a character. His death was so impactful in that film.
It really was.
Blew
I
my
mean, I was
Cap
pissed.
Captain Boomerang's death was impactful. We had a short, brief window with Captain Boomerang, and yet he made him better.
Yeah. I mean, that was James Gunn literally saying to the audience, that dog shit movie that this guy was in before, gone.
Yeah,
The first 8 minutes?
yeah. I think it was yeah, he didn't get long.
No.
8-10 minutes maybe.
Yeah,
Trying to remember
max 10.
I'm trying to remember the exact like yeah. It was just but in that time, like just from like the plane ride in to that scene, he had made Captain Boomerang even better. I would love to see Jai Courtney back as Captain Boomerang in something if it could be done, but obviously I don't think Gunn would bring him back just because he killed him off in that. Even though this is a separate
Yeah.
universe, so he has and he's mentioned it being a multiverse, so he does have the ability to bring him back if he did. But Captain Boomerang being mainly a Flash villain, and I think that he's going to avoid the Flash like the plague for a while.
I don't blame him.
I think that with how that movie completely bombed and just the stain that Ezra Miller has put on the character, I'm sure he will avoid the Flash like the plague for a while. Even if he does a Justice League film, I don't think there'll be a Flash in it. And I think
I
if he
would say
does
that.
it, he'll do a Wally West Flash most likely.
Yeah.
He'll do
And
like
I'd
a
be
red
perfectly fine with that.
he'll do like a red-haired Wally West Flash. If
Yeah.
he does bring it in, but I think he'll wait a while to just get that stink off. But we're already seeing that we're going to be getting like a Guy Gardner, which, by the way, another thing that people were pissed about was the fact that he hired Nathan Fillion to play Guy Gardner. That sounds like an amazing casting. Because at first off,
Absolutely.
he's not planning on keeping Guy Gardner around for long term.
Hmm.
Is he changing the order of the way people became Green Lanterns? Sure.
Yes.
So what? This is not a one-to-one from the comics. It can never be, because you can't do a one-to-one in the comics, because over 80 years of comic book history, these characters have had their shit changed so many times by so many different writers. It's impossible to do. So making changes and just being inspired by the comics like Marvel is the way to go.
Absolutely.
I do believe that was Snyder's biggest fault, because he tried so hard to be just like the comics and yet make drastic changes at the same time that it was completely off-putting. Like,
Yeah.
you got
Didn't Zack Snyder say he's always wanted to do a Dark Knight Returns film,
yeah,
and that's how we got Batman v Superman.
yeah, exactly. And then you
And it
shoehorn
is,
in the death of Superman into it.
yeah,
Like, it's crazy to me, because like he had success with 300, which is a short graphic novel that he was able to expand on but still keep it almost page for page what it was. Then
yeah.
he did Watchmen, which if you watch the right cut of, because there are like a half a dozen cuts of that film, if you watch the right cut, I think it's
Mhm.
the ultimate. No, it's the crap. I'll have to look up the name of the right cut. Besides the fact that he took the giant squid out of it and made it just a nuclear bomb, which is more grounded in realism instead of this giant space squid that came down. Um, it's like he recreated so many shots in the comics. You know what I mean? Like he tries to be a one-on-one in the comic, but then makes these drastic changes at the same time, and it's very off-putting. I like Watchmen. I think Watchmen is actually a great film if you get the right cut of it. And it's great. But he then tried to take that and parlay it into a DC universe. But he realized 300 is a dark story. Watchmen is a dark story. That's what Snyder does best.
Yeah.
And he's visually stunning.
Yep. Absolutely.
But it just doesn't work for certain characters.
No.
And trying to make, and I think that like the fact that again James Gunn is starting with Superman Legacy, which is about the heritage of Superman and being a being of hope, a bright light, is perfect. It's a perfect way to start, because you can still have a dark Batman and a grittier some of these characters like the Authority, but it's not all that way, because Superman is still Superman.
Mm-hmm.
And you make him this, the big blue Boy Scout, whatever you want to call it, but you can do it in a way that's compelling and intriguing and a great contrast to somebody like the Batman, which explains their dynamic and their friendship. You know?
Yeah.
And that was something we were robbed of in the Snyderverse.
Yeah. We never got to see Superman truly be the all-American hero that he's been for the last almost 80 years now.
Over 80 years, actually. 1938.
Yeah,
So
over
over
80.
80 years. And we also were robbed of the true friendship between Bruce and Clark.
Mm-hmm.
That is the one of the most compelling things in comic books. And
Yeah.
all we got was a grief-stricken Batman who, after his death, it's like he was the best of us. Da 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 da. Like that's not it.
Yeah.
So James Gunn is going to be able to give us that, and I think he's the best person for it. And I understand some people maybe feel he might not be the best person to direct the Superman movie, but I do. I think that he's a great choice. Yes, people well look at Brightburn where he had a dark Superman, like basically Superman, but what if he was evil, like a sociopathic Superman? Okay, fine, but he's not going to play Superman that way.
Right.
Look at the Guardians films. There will be emotion, there will be depth, but they can still be bright and fun. So I think he's the right person to direct it. He's written it. He's going to direct it. I'm not 100% on the cast as far as Superman. I forgot the actor's name.
Yeah, I don't remember either. I can't remember
I'll
anybody that really stood out in my mind. Well, yeah, I would have to say I'm really excited to see where Gunn goes with Superman. I really am. Because we finally get Superman out of this dark, gritty world that Superman has rarely ever been in comics. And we're finally, hopefully, we'll be able to see him as that big blue Boy Scout that has made him a icon in American culture. And not even in just American culture, in culture of humanity. Because you show anybody, you know, go to a far off country, go to Germany, go to the Philippines, find someone that doesn't speak English, show them the Superman S. They know exactly what that is.
Yep. So it's David.
That's how ingrained that these characters are.
So it's
in
David
world culture. Sorry.
Yeah, David Cornswet. I don't know what he's been in, but he's 29 years old. And Rachel Brosnahan, who plays Marvelous Miss Maisel.
Okay.
She will be Lois Lane. I think that's perfect casting.
Yeah, I can see her playing
just watch
Lois.
clips of Marvelous Miss Maisel and think about
she
Lois
has
Lane.
that. Yeah, she has that snarkiness. So
yeah,
I
think she'll be great. Now I don't know of what David.
You can't get any worse than who was it? Amy Adams in the Snyder's films.
I actually thought she was decent in Man of Steel. I thought in Man of Steel, I thought yeah, that's Lois Lane.
Yeah, I mean, but then
like
she captured the investigative reporter in Man of Steel to a T, and that I like. But then as we went along, she, especially in Batman v Superman, she was just horrible. I thought. I mean, there's no similarities to comic book Lois Lane or even the original actress that played Lois Lane. I cannot remember her name in the Christopher Reeves films.
Oh, Margot Kidder.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, there is just nothing you can compare to.
I think Rachel Brosnahan will be closer to the Margot Kidder, Lois Lane.
I do Amy too. Adams, that's what I want to see.
Amy Adams, I think.
I'll be honest.
Started off, I think she was a highlight of Man of Steel. I actually like Man of Steel. I think she was good in Man of Steel, but then it was a regression instead of a growth for the character, and that was the problem with it. Nothing against Amy Adams. That's not Amy Adams' fault. That is Snyder's fault 1,000%.
Yes.
And Josh Whedon was even worse with her. But we all know how he is with female characters, anyway. So David Cornsweat has done a bunch of like Netflix stuff and independent stuff, so I don't really know of him as much anything. Although there's a new something coming out on Apple TV called The Lady in the Lake with Natalie Portman, and apparently he's in that as well. But a lot of his stuff, like he did something for Netflix called The Politician. He did a horror indie film called Pearl from A24. I've not seen Pearl, but I've heard good things about it.
Mm-hmm.
He got his real big start in a thing called Hollywood, where he played an aspiring actor moonlighting as a sex worker in buttoned up 1940s. So he's done like very like widespread kind of stuff, because he also wrote, directed, and starred in a web sketch comedy series called Mo and Jerry Weather. So he's really got a wide range. So, like I
Okay.
said, horror, like political espionage, comedy, and then like dramatic thrill. Like he's done a lot in a small career. He's only 29 years old, so we're gonna get a long time with him. And again, if you look at James Gunn's casting, I trust him. Even when he casts his friends, he casts his friends in the right roles.
I agree.
So
I mean, speaking of friends, we talked about Nathan Fillion going to be Gardner. He was in all three Guardians films playing different characters. Or was
yeah,
he
because
in two?
he wasn't too sort of. He
Yeah,
was
did he do
Wonder
it?
Man. He was Wonder Man, but the character what is Wonder Man's name? The character's name. Crap.
Yeah. Okay. But yeah, and then he also got oh my god, why can't I think of his name? Damn it. Who played Yondu?
Um oh crap.
Yeah,
All right,
I
hold on.
mean,
We'll get there to say Michael Ricker.
yeah,
Michael Rooker.
Michael Ricker, yes.
Um so Simon Williams is the real name of Wonder Man, the superhero. Simon
Mhm.
Williams is also a stuntman and actor in
Yeah.
Marvel's 616. Nathan Fillion played Simon Williams on movie posters in the small town that Star Lord's grandfather is in, as Ego's goo tries to like take over the town. So
Okay, okay.
it's like a blink and you miss it thing. There was supposed to be a scene where they were shown more, and even a billboard with him on it with his newest film coming out. That was cut. And now we have the guy who plays Black Manta in the Aquaman films. He also played Dr. Manhattan in the Watchmen HBO series, which is phenomenal. He is now playing Wonder Man in the new series coming out with Wonder Man in it. So we're kind of forgetting that Nathan Fillion played Simon Williams
Yeah, yeah.
because it was like you can barely see it even on a big screen in the background kind of thing, but he was technically there in the second Guardians of the Galaxy film.
Yeah. He had a cameo. But yeah, I mean, but going back to Michael Roker, he brought him in as Yondu, which was perfect cast, and they've been friends forever.
They have a great
I mean,
friendship too. It's very funny.
oh yeah, great.
But like obviously Michael Rooker will do something in DC because again he does
Yeah.
something
Well, I
well.
mean, he already did it in the Suicide Squad.
Yeah, he was that
Uh,
character. God damn it! Not the genius, not the thinker.
yeah,
One of those like his powers was intelligence.
yeah, he was a prodigy. Was that his name? Prodigy?
Was it Prodigy?
No, I don't remember. But yeah, I mean,
I'll look it up. God damn it.
yeah, of course, we got to take better notes before we start this damn show. But yeah,
Savant.
Savant. That yeah, prodigy savant.
But like he'll be able to bring him in. Like honestly, I think Michael Rooker would make a fantastic Lex Luthor.
I'm not. I'm not gonna agree with you, but I'm not gonna disagree with you either.
The
Because
only downside is how does James Gunn play Luthor? Because in having a
Mhm,
younger Superman, Luthor should be about the same age as Superman.
yeah,
But at the same time, Gene Hackman's Lex Luthor was older and it was good.
it was good.
You can play it both ways.
Mm-hmm.
Because the reason that they were the same age was because the original reason that Lex Luthor hated Superman is because Superman as Superboy was trying to stop a fire in his chemical lab, and the chemicals got
Yeah.
blown by his breath, and it caused him to go bald. And the whole reason he hated Superman was for going bald. That is now kind of a running joke throughout the comics. Like, is it true
Yeah.
that he hates you because you made him go bald? But if you go the route of he hates him because he basically shows everything that humanity cannot be. And he could take over the world if he wanted to. Like that thought of like Lex Luthor having like his the core of his reason is actually valid. He just goes about it the most terrible way because he is a CEO businessman who has no morals.
Yep.
And so while the core of his argument is actually valid, the way he goes about it is absolutely terrible and makes him a villain. You could go that route. And Michael Rooker as Lex Luthor in that route would be great. We have seen so many versions of Lex Luthor over so many different things. You had Jonathan Crowler play Lex Luthor in Supergirl.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I think he didn't do it. I don't think he did a bad job. I thought he was great.
I haven't seen too much of it, but I didn't hate what I saw.
Yeah, I thought he
I
was
thought
great.
it's odd and an interesting take, but I don't hate it. So,
To me,
you know,
it felt like an homage to the Gene Hackman version, but
yeah,
a more
that's a
evil
great
version.
comparison. Fantastic. Yeah. Great comparison.
We had Kevin Spacey in
I gotta take a shower after you said that name.
I know
God.
Superman Returns, and it sucks how much of a bad person he ended up being because I actually thought he wasn't. I thought he wasn't bad as Lex Luthor, and
I
I'm like,
unfortunately I have to agree with that, but
but he's just
you
an
know,
awful human being. I don't remember the guy's name, but he's from The Walking Dead, who's now the Lex Luthor on the Superman and Lois show.
yeah,
But I don't
he
like it.
play,
I don't like it. First off, they've got him in. He's dressed like almost like a biker. He's got this long goatee, and he's not. It doesn't. It just doesn't feel like Lex Luthor at all. He just feels like a deranged biker man mad at Superman. It
he
doesn't
probably would have
feel.
made a good TV Lobo.
Yeah, like it doesn't feel like Lex Luthor to me. Um, but I say, there's a lot they could do with Michael Rooker. Like he'll be able to find a place for Michael Rooker in something. If not as Lex Luthor, which I can understand maybe not wanting to put him as that because again, that's a long villain. Like you keep that villain around for a long time.
Hey, okay, so we talked about how Michael Rooker is older than the guy who's going to play Superman now.
Yeah,
What if we got an OG Lex Luthor? Let's bring in Clancy Brown, the voice of Lex Luthor from the animated series.
I would love that actually.
I think put a ball cap on and shave his head, whatever. But he was Lex Luthor for my childhood. I mean, Gene Hackman was good, but Clancy Brown's voice in the animated series, oh,
I would love that actually. I love Clancy Brown. We just got
I
him. We just got him
yes,
in John Wick 4.
mm-hmm,
Of course, my first forte into Clancy Brown was Highlander, the first Highlander film,
absolutely yes. Scared
and
the hell out of me as a kid.
yeah, guy was insane. He's technically part of the Marvel universe because he was Sorter. He was the voice of Sorter
Mm-hmm.
in
He's in he's in the Star
Ragnarok
Wars universe. He played
in Star
in
Wars.
the Mandalorian.
Yeah. Yeah. That to me, I'm perfectly okay with that.
I would be too. I don't even care if he's that much older than Superman because I truly feel like Luther needs to be older. I mean, not like seriously much older, but if you have the acting chops to pull off a Lex Luthor like he has already done, let's go for it. Let's
Yeah,
get
that's literally the only issue I have with Rooker or Brown is that they are.
mhm,
I think they're both like in their late 50s.
yeah,
So it's not that the age gap between Superman and him. Like I'm okay with that part of it. It's the
hmm
longevity of what you know James Gunn's plan. James Gunn
what can
has
we do? Yeah,
he already has a 10-year plan with extensions. Like it for it to go further beyond that. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
it's just
like
like, and Lex Luthor is not a character you kill off.
no,
So that's the only downside to maybe casting a Clancy Brown or Michael Rooker. Let's see how old they are.
but still, either one of them as Lex
They would be
Luthor, I would
fantastic.
be all in.
Yeah, see, Clancy Brown is 64 years old.
Wow.
Yeah.
I did not think he was that old. But then again, he was probably in his late 20s when he did Highlander. Maybe in his mid 30s.
Michael Rooker is 68.
Dang, they're a lot older than I thought.
Yeah.
Ooh,
So
but
that's the only
still,
downside. That's the only downside to casting them, is that you're talking about them being in their 70s, possibly 80s, still trying to do Lex Luthor, and that could be a problem.
yeah,
Although,
it,
do you know how old Michael Keaton is? He
yeah, he
just
just
played Batman again.
turned. Yeah, he just had a birthday not a couple of days ago, didn't he? And he's like 74, 75 now.
He is 72 years old,
72. Okay,
and he was another, like, for me, another one that, like, I could see as Lex Luthor. And the reason I say that, just go watch the movie The Founder.
absolutely.
He went from a guy that film. I will never stop praising that film. That film,
And then
the
nor will I.
first the first half of that movie, I have never wanted to root for somebody to win more than I did his character.
Mm-hmm.
And then by the second half of the film, I have never wanted to see somebody fail and crash and burn so bad and hate somebody so bad as I did for that same character. Oh my
Absolutely.
god.
That movie is fantastic.
So good. And he plays a villain so well.
He really
And
does.
so he would make a great Lex Luthor as well. But again, he's already 72.
Yeah.
So you got to kind of lean more towards somebody, I would say maybe in their mid to late 40s as the
Mm-hmm.
latest, if not somebody in their mid to late 30s. I like the dynamic of him being slightly older. I don't need them
Yeah.
to be the same age. Although Michael Rosenbaum, who played Luthor on Smallville, he's already come out and said, "Hey, James Gunn, I'm willing to play Luthor again." I'd be all for it. I'd be all for
Yeah.
Michael Rosenbaum coming back as Luthor.
He was my favorite character in Smallville, to be honest. Anytime I watched that
Yeah.
show, I wasn't a religious fan about it, but I did watch a
I
few
was.
episodes, and
I
Luther
was.
Luther was a great villain
How old is
and
he?
great character. Also, didn't he voice Flash in the
Yep.
Justice League?
Yep.
I thought so. Yeah.
Wow, he's older than I thought. He's 51.
Damn.
What?
That the math is correct, but the math ain't math.
I have to remember. I'm 41. God damn it. All right.
Time
But
is a
still,
bitch.
so at 51, but he looks like he's in his 30s.
Yeah.
You could probably get 10 to 15 years out of him as Lex Luthor.
And I'm
So
sure
again,
he'd
I'd
be
be
up
okay with
for
it.
it.
Yeah, he's already said he would.
Exactly. He
Um,
just had that great Lex-esque suave and snarkiness. It was just such a good time to see him on screen
and yet
in
the fact that he
Smallville.
could voice the Flash, an exact opposite character to
Exactly.
Lex Luthor, and
Exactly.
nail it. So yeah, I'd be down for Rosenbaum to be back. I don't know if we even get Lex Luthor in this first film.
I doubt it.
I would kind of prefer to see maybe Brainiac,
I think that'd be a much better choice.
because Brainiac's been teased a lot. He was supposed to be in like, had Superman Returns worked, the next villain was going to be Brainiac. Um, and I don't think we've gotten. I want to see See, there is one Christmas gift that sticks out to me from my childhood. It was the super-powered action figure of the Brainiac. I think it's Brainiac 6. It's the full metal skeleton with the exposed brain.
Yeah.
Give me that version of Brainiac. Don't give me green skin, muscle brown. Give me
Yeah.
the.
I
Give
always
me
thought that
the.
version of Brainiac looked too similar to Martian Manhunter.
Yes, exactly. Especially since he's got like the
The
dots on
three,
his
yeah.
head, which looks like the dots on the chest of. Yeah, he looks very similar. Um,
Yeah.
give me.
Full animatronic
Yes.
robotic Brainiac.
Yes,
You know,
give me
make him
that.
look like a uh, make him look like the Terminator exoskeleton, but a little beefier, not just a skeleton with cybernetic
Yeah, with like
enhancements, what have you.
yeah, you make it the where it's metallic muscles and stuff like they're like
Yeah.
coils and stuff, and just like the figure was, and then you have the brain in the casing, and the very scary skeletal face and the red eyes. Give me that
Hmm.
Brainiac, and
Yeah.
give me. I think you can kind of expose Superman to Lex Luthor a little bit in the first film, but not
Yeah,
as the
like name
main
drop
villain.
LexCorp.
Yeah,
Maybe not introduce them, but just name
or I
drop
would maybe like
LexCorp. Like,
they don't necessarily interact, but you could have them on like TV or something denouncing the existence of Superman, this alien who's going to cause problems.
yeah,
It's
or
just
even
a
Clark
start.
Kent interviewing Lex Luthor.
Yeah, exactly. And as kind of
Yeah.
just a subplot to this film.
Hmm.
But the fact that we've already who else? Okay, let me look at the Superman Legacy cast because I know we're getting Guy Gardner, we're getting Hawk Girl, and I do love they who they choose. They chose Isabella Marced. She was in I'm trying to think of what you would know her from. Uh, well, she was the voice of Dora, but
Dora
well,
the Explorer.
this in a spin-off series, she was the voice of her. It was a
Okay.
2019 spin-off series. Transformers: The Last Night. She's the girl who can fix robots.
Oh, okay.
That's her. Um, she played the live action Dora in that 2019 movie as well.
Okay. Yeah. 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 I have a
So
6-year-old daughter. Yeah, I know
yeah,
that one.
so she's 22 now. So Anthony Kerrigan, he was in Gotham. He's the guy. He's bald and he has no eyebrows.
Actually, I didn't watch much Gotham.
He played Zaz.
Oh, Victor
Um,
Zaz. Okay,
yeah, he played Victor
I have to
Zaz.
look that up.
He's gonna be playing Metamorpho. You remember the guy who played Darwin in X Men First Class?
Yes.
He's playing Mister Terrific, which I think that's great casting.
Oh, that's perfect casting. Absolutely, all day long. Yes. It's like I cannot remember that guy's name, but I love like anything I see him in. He's fantastic. He was in Enter the Badlands, which was a show on AMC about a post-apocalyptic world where guns are outlawed and everybody's fighting for territory. He was great in that, and like in House and so much other stuff. And every time he appears on screen, I'm like, I love this character already. He ain't said a word yet.
Yeah, he's great. I'm trying to look at the cast here.
I think he
There's
was
one other
also in a
character.
few episodes of Blacklist.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Also, Samantha Weavering has been cast in an unnamed role. She was in that movie, that horror movie. It's not called Hide and Seek, but where like she married into a family and they played a
Oh
game of
yeah.
like lethal hide and seek. She was
What
also
was it,
one of
Ready or
the
Not?
yeah, I think it's Ready or Not.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
she was also one of the children in Bill and Ted Face the Music,
Yes, that's it. Yes.
which by the way, fantastic film, so
Hmm.
good.
Is
Um,
it funny that the first time I saw her in Ready or Not, the first thing I thought was, "Hey, Margot Robbie called, and she wants her DNA back."
yeah, she does look a lot like her, but she has been
Uh
cast
huh.
as an unnamed role also in the film, so we don't know who she'll be. But the fact that a villain hasn't been cast yet is interesting.
Hmm.
It'll be like it looks like there's going to be kind of a JSA kind of thing with Mister Terrific, Metamorpho, Guy Gardner, Hawk Girl. It is interesting that Superman is not necessarily the first superhero, but I don't know why somebody just said stop. Okay. Um, but I mean, because it's not year one Superman. This Superman is like it's year 2 or year 3 that we're seeing. It's him kind of like, can he
Yeah,
balance?
kind of like Robert Pattinson's Batman.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, can he balance the Kryptonian heritage along with his human heritage of being, growing up with human parents in a world, and saving the day, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But it doesn't seem like he's the first superhero. Which, I mean, in all honesty, I think from a cinematic perspective, it kind of makes sense to do it that way, because if you really, really think about it, if Superman is truly your first, which Superman was the first superhero in comics, but
Yep.
it's kind of all downhill from there. Like, you're talking about like this like incredible character, like, so like, why would the world need a Batman if you have Superman?
Mm-hmm.
Why would it need any other superheroes? Like, honestly.
Yeah.
So I think it's probably smart to make it to where he's not the first. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to what James Gunn is going to do. Hopefully the
I am
studios
too.
get hopefully the studios get their heads out of their asses and meet the terms of these strikes for the unions so we can get back to Hollywood. At the same time, I don't want the actors or the writers to bend at all,
Neither do I.
because they're not asking for anything unreasonable. So
No.
if the studios just got their heads out of their asses and just met the demands of the unions, we can get back to having this stuff and we can get back on track. Because as of right now, Superman Legacy was supposed to come out next year. Now it's not coming out till 2025. So we gotta wait.
Yeah.
And that sucks. Because I would love to see another Superman film. I'm
I would
dying to
too.
see another Superman film.
I would love to see a good Superman film.
Yeah.
I just got to put that little exclamation point on it.
At this point, I'll just take a Superman film and see how it goes.
I,
I just want to see him like again.
I guess I'm just a little more picky than you.
Oh no, I want
And
it to
I'm,
be good, but at this time I will
yeah,
settle for just seeing something on the screen and then building from there. I mean, the last time we genuinely got Superman on the big screen, I'm not counting his appearance in Black Adam. That was
oh no,
stupid.
of course not.
Stupid. Was 2017.
Yeah.
And that's sad. Here we are 6 years later. We're not going to get him back till 8 years later.
I
So
mean,
we'll see.
I mean, it's not the longest wait we've had to wait for Superman, because at the end, when we finally got done with Superman 4, we didn't get to see Superman on the big screen until Superman Returns.
True.
Yeah, so.
True.
But I don't want to wait that long.
Yeah.
I'm just. So, are we going to have to wait? Yes. Is it going to be an unbearable wait where we're going to be like in our 50s by the time this comes out? No. So, it's something.
It's something.
It's just something to look forward to.
And again, as long as the studios get their goddamn heads out of their asses and meet the completely reasonable demands of the unions,
Completely reasonable.
we don't have to postpone everything. And we got the Marvels coming up, which I'm really looking forward to. Although it says the runtime is only an hour 38, making it by far the shortest Marvel film ever. MCU film ever. But that also means that it gets right to it. It's just
That's true.
like, so I'm kind of okay with that. Hopefully it's not to the detriment of the story. Like, they didn't cut out too much. But I'm looking forward to it. I think it looks good. That's something else that the toxic fans are trying to attack. They're taking a screenshot from Entertainment Tonight where it's a freeze of her flying with Goose on her shoulder. They're saying the CGI is horrible, which, first off, it's not. It looks great, actually. It's a very well done shot. It looks brilliant. And they're just trying to nitpick on any little thing. I think as we wrap up this discussion, just stop. If you don't have a legitimate gripe and you're trying to pick at the most mundane and minute details to bitch, maybe you're the problem.
Mm-hmm. It's like we all need to get in the mindset of being like Clark Kent and Bruce Wayne, Superman and Batman. It's like one uh one of these characters fights for the good of humanity. The other fights the scum of humanity. But somehow they talk about their disagreements and are able to work together as a cohesive unit for the better of humanity. That is what we need to strive to, and stop being toxic ass fans.
Everyone's entitled to an opinion,
Exactly.
but that doesn't mean your opinion needs to be broadcast to the entire world and everybody has to listen to it.
And
Keep it
also,
to
your
yourself.
opinion is not law.
Yeah. It's not fact. It is just how you
No.
feel. If you don't, and just be honest, if you don't like the Marvels because it's an all women cast and it's Brie Larson who stands up for what she believes in and doesn't like toxic masculinity, which nobody should,
Mm-hmm.
and it has nothing to do with the product itself, it's just your hatred for women, maybe shut the fuck up. You know? It's gotten to the point where everybody's saying the quiet parts out loud, and maybe they need to start looking into themselves and realizing that, oh, maybe I'm the problem.
Yeah, just listen to that little internal voice that says, dude, shut the fuck up.
Yeah. I think that we need to get universal health care in America, and we need to put therapy on that, and everybody should get therapy. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
On that note, we're going to go ahead and say goodbye here. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the Geeks and Noobs for this week. We look forward to seeing you next week. Of course, as always, do all the social media stuff, like, follow, subscribe, all that jazz. Don't forget to join our Discord. Don't forget to get your merch, all that fun jazz. And as the great Kevin Pereira says, kisses, hugs, and belly rubs. We will see you guys next week.
I went to substances, you went to college. I think it's too late to acknowledge our problems. Heard that you're great, I just wanted to say it ain't change. I still love you, tomorrow's not promised. Oh, by the way, fucking hate all the fame. Got you counting the days when your illness is chronic. Death really changes the way you behave. I'll remember your face when it smiles upon us. Rapper bass, psych major, 666, so we like danger. Tough luck, life waster. If I get to know her, then I might save her. Stars in your eyes, let the moon talk. I can stay a while before I move on. Hoodie sleeves up, let the mask off. Make star tears on the asphalt. Damage in my C6, but you get that. So I know you'll understand where my blade at. You're afflicted, where the meds at. Damn girl, let's make big bets at. Fuck them all, they don't got nothing on us. Trying to kill us, baby, think we're fucking on it. Fuck your fucking sickness, lost you in the process. I'ma get it for us like I always promised. Text me. Pull me back in with your fucking lies. Kill me slowly, baby, you know I don't fucking mind. You said a million years, guess the stars align. You've been lying, baby, see it in your fucking eyes. All up in your feelings, all about my vocal cords. I just think it's funny, there ain't shit you working towards. Rose up at the morgue, got my foot in the door. If you run up on the dead, get bodied by a corpse. Keep fuck for your money, get robbed for your life. Had a plight from the jump, succumb to the night. Got meds in my blood, got death in my mind. Ain't got shit left, best step to me right. No face, no name, like get her. My bitch look just like me, sir. In my restless dreams, I see her.